Here's the way my dad would talk about stuff. These are the things that define people. He said, I gave up smoking 22 years ago. You know who turned me down the road to smoking? Bob Hinton. I coughed. He said, it gets better. What a sight I was. 17, 6 feet, weighed 118 pounds and smoking a cigarette. Hinton went on to be a sergeant for the Springfield Police and got arrested for stealing rowboats from Echo Lake. Because I remember he's like one of the things he was proud about. I wrote this down. Yeah, he said told me about his dad, and we call him Pop-Pop because you never got to know your Pop-Pop. He was a guy who never second-guessed people. My dad wasn't highly educated, but he could always tell you where the bear went through the buckwheat. He didn't judge people. He just lived his life out. Never understood education. My parents never encouraged me like I encouraged you kids. I went to the Air Force, got out with GI loan, and went to college. I had to do everything myself. It was the only way I was going to get an education. I didn't want to live in Springfield, New Jersey. It used to flood. It's at the bottom of the hill of everything social and economic. The shithouse of Union County. That's how he talked. He was a 27 or 33 handicapper. You know, you got to hand it to somebody who belongs to a country club for over 20 years and still can't read a green. It was just amazing that way. But I remember talking to him. I said, Dad, you know, and he complained. I said, Dad, you don't practice, you don't take lessons, and you don't loosen up. Why are you getting mad? I mean, you got 33 bad shots in you. And I said, I mean, look at the shafts of your clubs. I mean, they're too stiff. I said, you should have ladies' shafts on your clubs. And he looks at me like he'd swill his vodka and mull that over. And he goes, ladies' shafts on my clubs. Is that the final insult? And I asked him, I said, how did you meet Mom? You know, and I was talking to them both at the same time. And my mom said, my cousin Terry was going out with this guy she didn't like, and she asked me to go along with her on a date. What about that, Dad? My dad goes, whatever, you know. And my mother goes, we went to this place off Route 33. And my dad goes, whatever. And my mother goes, I forget the name. My dad goes, Rudy's. And I said, so how was the date, Mom? She goes, well, I guess we had a second one, so I guess it was good. I said to Dad, I said, where did you ask Mom to marry you? And he goes, whatever. She goes, it was at Seaside Heights by the beach. And my dad goes, he just looked up and goes, I worked all summer for that ring. Mr. Gallagher, who was in Freehold, New Jersey, we had a nice little kind of suburban area. There were 7 model homes to choose from. They put up 256 of them, so everybody moved in at the same time. So everybody knew the families, everybody had 2 or 3 kids, so it was just one giant living room party from one end of the development to the other end of the development. So there were a lot of friendships there. So he went over to somebody's house, and the guy had just painted his living room. Okay, and so he said, I've just painted the living room. Your father comes in, my wife comes in, she gives him a martini. He sits down, and he says to my dad, so Fred, what do you think? What do you think of the color? And my dad goes, sips his drink, mulls it over, and goes, looks like baby shit brown. And the guy goes, how can you say that? And the guy's wife said, you're repainting this tomorrow. We had these people across the street in Stoners called the Donettis. They were Italians, and what a shock to build stuff. On their front lawn, they had like statues that, you know, the Virgin Mary, Jesus, and whoever the third guy is, you know. And, so anyway, it's a trinity, so they all have a good time. And so my dad looks at this, and he goes, you know, if those 3 figures start to move, I'll have every Catholic in the world on my front lawn. You know, it's Memorial Day, and you know, they always talk about heroes, and people are gladiators, people are military men, you know. And the thing is, even when I see my dad suffered quite a bit. It was really a horrible thing that he went through, and if you want to know the horror stuff, I'll tell you later. But I mean, his life was very powerful for us, and I was very fortunate to know him, and he raised us all. Like I said, he gave us our strengths. And my dad, of course, he was at AMF. He was one of the heavies. He worked at corporate headquarters, but he was always a nice guy. He wasn't a suit. He never followed the game. In fact, because of his sense of humor, it probably hurt him more than most. At AMF, for example, he would be a wise ass at meetings, and it hurt him. You know, because those guys don't laugh at stuff. So one of the suits is going, you know, they're having a big pontificating chairman of board meeting. Name one person who rose to be chief executive, a CEO, if he was a failure in business. And my father, without any hesitation, said, Harry Truman. And then my dad looked at me and said, I knew after I said that, I'd never be a vice president. You know, I mean, people have great quotes from, you know, like, I mean, from various famous people. I mean, Henry David Thoreau said, massive envy, life of quiet desperation. Camus said, the sleep of reason produces monsters. And my dad said, well, a fart won't smell unless it's hot.
That's true.
I have the feeling you're going to remember that more than the Camus quote. You know, farts really don't smell unless they're hot. What I always thought of, you know, the way I see my dad almost all the time, of course my dad commuted to work every day and stuff like that, and we were in Freehold, New Jersey. The bus, we had this commuter bus that would pick up the men. It was kind of interesting. The kids would go to school on the same corners that their dads picked up the bus to go to New York. Except the dads were in ties, and the kids weren't. You know, unless you went to parochial school, then you were stuck. The heroes, I mean, so many of these guys that work and provide for the family, he would come to the bus would drive away, you'd see the exhaust behind him, he'd be coming up the slanted driveway, he had his hat tilted back from New York, he had his tie down, he had his London fog overcoat over his left shoulder, he was carrying this beat-up attaché case, and he was coming home, and what he had done is he gave us a house, and he was coming home to his kids and his family, and that, you know, that quiet heroism that almost every guy, a good father, does, is like one of the most underappreciated things in the world. And what a hero it was. I mean, they endure and they do good things. And, you know, I thought about the obits. You know, you see obits where people just work for companies. They say works for Lockheed, or works for AMF, or he works for, you know, and you just go, well, geez, it doesn't seem like much of an accomplishment there. When you think of the sacrifices that go in to walk into those offices, to take that trip, you know, bus, and blah, blah, and he still had fun and made friends in spite of that.
From 1978, and we have a special guest here to introduce the album for you. It's a big-time visitor from the East, and it's my father-in-law is here in the studio, and he's the mogul. So he's going to introduce this album on the Vinyl Timeline. Go, mogul.
Bob Seger, and the album is Stranger in Town.
Didn't he do good? 98.5, it's K-Fox on the Vinyl Timeline.